He's anti-Cohen. He is. He's very pro-Wilpon.
Oh.
That's just not true.
He's very pro-Wilpon because the truth of the matter is this. He has said since Cohen's taken over, there's no organizational structure and there's no way of them doing anything, whereas he feels the Wilpons did have that. Yet the Wilpons were signing Chris Young on the first day of free agency to a 1-year, $10 million deal, and that just put everything over the top. I personally think the Mets are also doing all of this, what they did, and I don't think Buck's going to be the manager next year. I think he's going to be let go. I think they're going to give David Stearns, when he comes in, a complete clean slate and let Stearns do what he does. Let him run it. Let him run the organization. And Eppler is just going to be a body at this point. Listen, Eppler got rid of the contracts. He got the prospects. Granted, he got every shortstop in the minors. Dan, what were your thoughts on the trade deadline? Because to me, personally, I thought the Mets did, and Speedy did too. Speedy said it. Tell me if I'm wrong, and if I misquote you, Speedy. You said the Mets did a very good job at getting the returns that they got for the older pitchers. They did. So what were your thoughts on the deadline?
I think they did great when you look at every single individual trade. Like every individual trade they made, they did very well. But when you look at the whole totality of what they got, they basically have a lot of overlapping talent that they're either going to have to trade off in the future to get different prospects or different major league players. I don't see how it's going to work. They picked up a lot of infielders. They picked up one outfielder.
I think Clifford plays first base, if I'm not mistaken, from Houston.
Yeah.
And then Gilbert's an outfielder. Acuna can play outfield and second base. And then they got the kid Vargas who can play second and third as well. So it's not like, I understand what you're saying. They mainly, those players they got back are predominantly shortstops.
Yeah, and the point, it just goes to show how, like, and I talked to you about this when we talked about the Kellenic trade. We always argue about this trade.
I'm so over this crap at this point.
And
it's not me and you. It's really quick. It's not me and you. It's you and Evan. It's you and Evan. It's not me and you. I'm out.
Minor league outfield talent, you can trade. Minor league pitchers that have talent, you never trade. And you saw at this deadline, the Mets could not pry a top pitching prospect from any of these organizations on any of these trades. It just wasn't able to get it. And there's a reason for it. And there's just such a high value on minor league pitchers with talent that are in AA or above. And the Mets couldn't do it. And that's the reason for it. So instead of getting nothing, they did the best they could, and they got a lot of fielders. And hopefully one or two of them pan out. But it's, it's a process. Let me just say something about Cohen since you did this. So I'm going to talk about it. Cohen is loved in New York because he did things like he brought back Old Timers Day. He's extraordinarily fan-friendly.
Seaver statue.
The Seaver statue. I'm saying everything he did as far as his relationship to the fans is great.
He brought back history for the Mets. That's what that's what the goal was.
Everything he does as far as running the organization and making them better is very much the same vein as what Dolan does with the Knicks, what Woody Johnson does with the Jets, which is he looks for the shiny object, spends big money on it, and then when it doesn't work out, he bails out of it and says, all right, now we're rebuilding. But we still have a lot of remnants of this leftover philosophy. We still have Lindor for 9 years. We still have this ridiculous Nimmo contract, which is so bad.
It's not a bad contract.
It's going to mess up Alonso's
The Nimmo contract is not bad. Speedy, what's Nimmo getting paid on average per year?
I think 20.
And he's one of the best center fielders in baseball.
It doesn't. If you're the best let's say you're the best student in like the worst math class in school. That doesn't mean you're going to Harvard. I mean, there's no other center field. Nimmo is a good player.
So what did you want them to do to replace Nimmo? Because the next alternative option was getting a Kevin Kiermaier. Would you have wanted Kevin Kiermaier?
Well, I could have at worst, and it wouldn't have worked out. It wouldn't have worked out.
You're going to say Marte in center field.
Put Marte in center, and then
just for him to get hurt more.
Right, it wouldn't have worked out. But they would have had the flexibility to get somebody to fill in the slots later on in the year. There's no reason to obligate yourself to this guy for 8 years. Plus, screw up the balance of your payroll for any future players that want to negotiate with your team.